One.
The work that I want to emphasize is more the myofascial release with client movement, client participation. So that previous round of work we did, from the strain, counter strain, the playbook if you like, that worked very passive and somewhat indirect. We're never engaging with a barrier of restriction. So in the work that I'm going to show next, we're going to go somewhat more into a direct style of working with restriction, but you'll see that I'm then going to join that in with quite a lot of client participation, if you like. So there'll be a certain kind of quality to the way that I'm asking my model here to make the movement, certain things that will affect really not so much immediately affect the stretch reflexes, those monosynaptic stretch reflexes that we looked at in detail last week, but we want to sort of really go up into the so-called supraspinal areas where movement, the formation of movement is born, if you like, and created and assessed and reconfigured, this constant sort of upstream and downstream flow. And it's by doing that we're able to then affect the sensitivity of the stretch reflex. So that reflex is kind of intact in a way as it is right now, but as I start to engage with perceptual change and coordinative change on the part of my model here, that will start to create a change in the outflows, and particularly in those gamma motor neurons that go right into the intrafusal fibers. So that's exciting that we can do that. The interesting thing about this also is that we're not so much interested now in individual muscles, but we're interested in the whole global set of the gamma bias. So all these terms from last week, gamma bias, gamma gain. So we're trying to reduce gamma gain for sure, and we're trying to set a level of gamma bias that is more appropriate to the tasks at hand. So we're able to do that here. The model's out of gravity in a sense. Gravity's still in play, but they're not having to engage their postural muscles. So it kind of gives their nervous system, if you like, a little breathing space, so that then it can learn some new behaviors. So it doesn't have the demand of gravity. And so we're able to then start to take advantage really of neuroplasticity and persuade through these centers more up in the brain for the tone in the muscles to change. So the first thing I might do, a kind of traditional thing here at the hip, would be just to land with my elbow. So that's a kind of classic myofascial release contact. I land with my elbow and I settle into the gluteus medius area. So that's just to help you sort of understand where I am. I settle, and quite often, almost, if not immediately, but quite soon after you make the initial landing, particularly if you don't rush it, the person will yield, or there's some sense of giving way under the weight of the elbow. And that's a nervous system response. So already that yielding or that softening, melting is a good word there, that suggests that there's some nervous system response just to that pressure. Now the pressure's too strong and I really kind of get in there and smash on it, then we're going to activate a withdrawal reflex. And so the body will actually tighten up to try to manage that overwhelming sensation. So here we're just trying to keep it in a zone that's comfortable, even enjoyable. I start to slide along, and I can coach my client a little bit at this point. I can just encourage my model here, I can just encourage them to let the whole underside of the body really rest with the table. So you just really let yourself sort of flop like that, and that's a very obvious thing. I can feel that. I think he can feel it quite clearly that the underside of the body can receive the table a little bit more. So now we're making the whole thing more and more sensory. And as you do that, you might find that my elbow sinks in a little bit further just without even trying, that there's just again that sense of, you know, your body enjoying being supported by gravity like that. Yeah, so there's all kinds of release happening, and I'm not really doing that much. I'm active, and now he's going to be a little bit active as well. So the first movement to explore would be to just start to really slowly, in a moment, I'll kind of set up the way to make the movement, is you're going to let the weight of this leg become even more apparent. You'll just let the leg flop, just falls onto the other leg, and then you can just start to slide your leg along the table towards that wall down there, just this top leg. Yeah, and you just feeling it drag on the leg below it. That's right. Good. Good. Yeah. And as you're going, then the foot can just start to draw up a little bit, flexing, and just the bottom of the foot open a little bit, not stretchy. Yeah, more like you're just noticing how those creases in the bottom of your foot unfold slightly. That's good. Good. Good, and then draw your leg back where it came from. Just let everything, again, have that sense of heaviness. So you're really dragging your leg along. You can feel it dragging on the leg below. Good, that's good. Good. Okay, so I'll talk a little bit about that I've completed. So I've been there for quite a while, and there is, I'm not saying that the change is only in the nervous system, so there's very likely, we have lots of evidence from molecular biology that there's changes in the material that's under my elbow, and that's also exciting, but not so much putting that in the foreground. Here, putting in the foreground, trying to sort of mix up the movement, move away from the habits of movement that are bound into the tightness or the hypersensitivity within the muscle spindles and within the gamma motor neurons. So we're trying to kind of mix it up so that we can create some new behaviors that are probably going to be more efficient and be based on a reduction in tone that's not necessary. So quite often we've got way more tone just at rest than we need, and even when we're functioning in the gravity field, we're also got way more tone quite often than we need to function. So we're trying to find that really good zone where we love tone, tone's good, we don't want to just be floppy and like a blob of protoplasm, but at the same time we don't want to be, you know, in the grip of these tight muscles. So can go, I'll show a little bit more. So going back to the same area, let's see, I'll just cuff up the shorts and I'll show something that's directly on the trochanter itself. So I'm just, again, it's just landing this steady, easy kind of weight. I'm giving weight and putting a little bit of tension into the tissue. So I am tensioning the material. That seems to be an important part of stimulating some of the mechanoreceptors that we're wanting to have torque up into the brain. So it's not just, they're not just pressure sensitive, they're also tension or shear sensitive. And again, I'll just remind my model of the whole weight of the underside of their body. They can really just let that be supported by the table. Yeah, it's like being in the sand on a warm day at the beach. Everything just feels like contoured down comfortably. So I'll keep that contact there. And then what I'm going to ask for now is just, we've got some changes in perception. So things are happening slowly, movements happening without the same sort of vigor of kind of usual movement, if you like, not quite micro movement, but of course, but moving in, I guess we could call it mindful movement. So now I'm going to add a slightly also perceptual, but a little bit of a change in almost like the way kind of sequencing a movement. So the first thing that's happened is we've encouraged this to let go. Receive the elbow into the bone even. It's almost like the bone itself can give way a little bit. And then what you're going to do next is you're just going to slightly tilt your chin up and just feel the front of your body lengthening, and everything else except your chin just all stays back here with gravity. Yeah, it's good. If you go a little more, it's nice, good, good, like that. So this all has its kind of lazy, floppy feeling. Your chin is moving, and then you can roll your chin up a little bit like you're looking up at the ceiling. Yeah, good. So now I've got a nice spiral motion going through there. The rest of the body's being encouraged to just, if you like, stay with gravity. Good, so we're differentiating the head from the body. Good, and then go back to where you came from. Good, and then just let everything go back to deep neutral. That's good. Okay, so let's go and have a look at what the outcomes of this might be. So I get you to line your back, and I'm going to go down here. I'm checking with my camera person to see if they can follow me. We had this discussion. So this is just really feeling, looking for a response through that leg. Just how much that force I'm putting there. It's just a rocking motion. It's not a technique really. And just seeing how that transmits up through that side. And then we'll look at that side and see if there's a difference. And I hope that shows up on the camera because it is fairly noticeable from here. Jiggle, watch the head in particular. Jiggle, jiggle, jiggle. And here. Okay, so that's a good start, and it's a good demonstration really of the kind of responsiveness that's built through working in that way. So we're getting that really great ripple of movement, that kind of melody of motion up through the body, so I can sort of play the head and the neck from the foot here. But over there, the whole thing sort of terminates mostly in the hip, but a little bit of motion above in the trunk. Okay, let's take a break there.